We got a PS2 over here. This is our PS2. And it is plugged into power. Oh, there it is. It's plugged in. We try to turn around and turn it on. The light does not turn on. And there's nothing going on.
He's dead.
Talk to me, Goose. Talk to me. Talk to me.
Do something!
Speak to us.
So we are going to need to see if we can replace the power supply on this. Alright, so we went ahead and we ordered a new power supply board.
Need more power!
This board's been recapped, and I'm hoping that this is what the issue is. We're kind of aiming in the dark. So we're going to go ahead and just put this board in and replace the existing power board. It will hopefully do the trick. However, the old board did not look like it had any blown parts. The fuse looked okay and all the caps were not bulging, so this could be a waste of time, but we're going to do it anyways. So on the PlayStation 2, you have these covers that you have to pry off. You'll want some sort of a pry tool, something that doesn't scratch or damage anything, and you'll just slowly work away. All right. You just kind of put it in and you twist a little, and it will pop this out. The rubber ones are a little easier to come off because they're little rubber feet. You'll want to remember where the rubber feet go. There are a total of 8 that you need to do. So there's 6 on this spot, and there are 2 more on the other side. So I'm going to turn it, and there's 2 more over here. And that will expose number 2 Phillips head screws. Inside the console. Now, on the back, we have a hard drive accessory, and that takes a flathead. Goodness. Hard drive accessory. And there is a warranty sticker on the PS2 Fat model.
But once you open the box, you voided the warranty.
That's down here. I already peeled it off once before, but you will have to remove it and void your warranty.
I think I might have voided your warranty.
There it is. The warranty is voided, which obviously is voided. This is over a 20-year-old console. Okay, now at this point, you need to use a number 2 Phillips, and you'll take the screws out. You're going to want to remember what screws go where. This is a longer screw. There's 4 long screws there. I believe that these ones are shorter. Yep, shorter than that on the bottom. And then there's 2 small these screws on the other side. I'm going to turn this. These are shorter screws down here. On this model, there is a ribbon and the power buttons are on the front of the case. So you have to be very careful. I saw a video showing a different model where it was different, but this particular one, you have to be careful because the buttons are going to be on the case when we go to separate it. Okay, we have all the screws out. We're going to turn it over so that now we have the top of the console. At this point, we can start lifting. You're going to be very careful how you do this. Lift it like that because there is the ribbon, and the ribbon's still connected to the front of the case. This sticker here is a little torn, but you would have to rip that sticker off anyways if you were to have to remove this. We got the power and the reset button on the top of the case, and there's a ribbon cable. So it is tricky, but this thing like lifts up and out. It like snaps in down the bottom, and then you just bend it and carefully lift it out. Like you see it, like it goes in, you bend out, but there's a little post down here that locks it in. So I had to take and pry it up a little bit and then move it out. So that takes the top of the PlayStation 2 off. And that's the power button. I don't know if the power button ribbon is bad. It is possible if when we go to replace this power board, if it still does not work, then the next piece that has to get replaced is going to be this ribbon on this power button. All right, now at this point, we need to remove the screws to the joystick ports, controller ports. It's still on number 2 Phillips. With these screws here. Let's remove these. And this thing just comes up. Now, there's a ribbon. See that ribbon? It was sort of folded in. So we're not going to remove, we're just going to leave it dangling over here. And these are the 2 screws. You can see they're different colored. They're like copper type screws.
If you hold it.
All right, so we're turn the PS2 a little bit so you can get a better view. We're going to take the fan. We're going to take the screw out of where the fan is, and that's over here. You might have to use a smaller screwdriver. It's a little bit of a tight fit. It's still a number 2 Phillips. Definitely good to have a magnetic tip for that. We're keeping this on the controller port. We're keeping the buttons on, but we got to turn it over now. At this point, we should be able to remove the bottom of the case. So we're gonna try to lift the PlayStation up. And yes, okay. So the bottom of the case is gonna come off. All right, so we're gonna have to turn this thing over and get to the back of it. And I'm gonna put something underneath here so I'm not smashing the cable. I'm putting just the scissors. We do like that. Because here is the power board, upside down. And again, it's still number 2. There's 4 screws on each corner. So we'll just take those out. There is a cable that needs to be removed, and it has a clip on it, and that is right here. So you need to pull that out first. Yeah, that's good enough. So it's off. So at this point, we should be able, you're gonna lift straight up, because there is a port connector right here, this and this. So you don't want to bend these. So you're just gonna lift straight up. This board I purchased has been recapped. So this is a refurbished board, and it has all new capacitors put in. All right, we're gonna be very careful how we're handling this. We're gonna turn it, and we've gotta make sure that we're lined up on our pins so that we're actually going into, I mean, it has to go. There we go. Okay. Whew. All right, so you'll want to line up the holes and carefully push down on the board to make all the pins connect, and then you're going to put the screws back in. So let's go ahead and do that. And then once we got the screws in, we'll need to flip it back over and start putting it all back together again. Okay. At this point, we got to go back and we got to put this, we can't forget, sorry, I moved a little bit. We want to get this cable plugged back in to this spot right here. There we go. Maybe. Yeah. Okay, now it's plugged in. So you see, we got that in there. It's plugged in. Okay, that's in there. All right, now we gotta turn it back over. To work. He's got there. It's not in there. It's not in there yet. There we go. Now it's in there. Okay, so you might have to line it up in the back a little bit over here for it to come together. But the bottom is back on. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and put the fan screw in first, and that's right in here. That is in. All right. Now, this ribbon has to kind of like tuck back into the console. So you're going to take the ribbon, and you're going to like put it and tuck it in, and then that'll just pop right on. So I use my finger and kind of push the ribbon down in there a little bit. And at that point, you can just take your screws and we can go ahead and screw this back together again. Put this in there. And that's in there. All right, so that's in there. All right, we got the bottom put on. We got everything screwed back together. We still have to put the top of the case back on, but we're gonna test it real quick. So we're gonna go ahead and just plug the power in back here. And we're gonna take a look. We're gonna turn the power on. Now we got power LED on the reset button. We did not have that before. So I'm satisfied with that so far. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off and unplug it. And we're gonna try to get the top of the case back together again. But that is a good sign. I think we're gonna have a working console after this.
Put a lid on it.
The next step is very tricky. It gave me a lot of problems last time. So we're gonna move this over because we're going to we have to put the buttons back into the top of the case. So here's our case, the top of the case. So you're gonna find where your buttons go, which is over here. And that orientation is gonna go into the front. So you're gonna line that up, and then you're just gonna rotate it down and get yourself a position where you can work on this. So you wanna make sure that your power button's on top. You don't get it upside down. And you have to be mindful of the fact that there's cable in there and it does get bent up a little bit. So you have to kind of tuck the buttons in. And kind of need to there we go. Again, you gotta find that little post, and it's got to go in the post. No, it's not in. I thought it was in.
Go.
Well, I can't believe I did this, but I actually broke the peg. If you take a look, you can see the little scarring there. There's a tiny, tiny little peg, and it's down here. So you do not want to do this to yours, because if this thing breaks off, there's no way for this power button to lock back into the case, because that little peg goes through this tiny little hole right here. So without the peg, I'm going to move the peg off to the corner. And then this time around, when we got the new power supply board, there it is. Now it went in. Piece of junk. I can't believe they made it like this. So this would be done right now and hooked in, because it went through this hole here. It's lined up, but that little post is what locks it down and in. So now, without that post, it's just going to fall right out when you go to push on it. Well, I don't think, even if you try to glue that little post back in, it's not going to stay. Because at this point, you're just going to put the top back on. But I'm not sure what we're going to do. You're not going to glue it in, because obviously you'd never be able to take it back apart again. You literally have to buy another top. But yeah, that's what happened. Okay, so we looked at the video, and the post was actually there when I took it out, but it broke when I was trying to put things back in. I'm not proud of this. This is pretty bad. I'm really upset that I broke the post. So I just put a piece of tape over here that's gonna bother the crap out of me, I'm sure, but it is in very solid, not gonna move. If people are pushing the buttons, it's not gonna fall out. That is one solution you can do. I use this silver tape that you would use in like your duct work off your heater. So it's definitely heat insulated. There's no heat that's going to come out of here, and there won't be any electricity touching this area at all. So that's fine and safe. So at this point now, we got to get this put back on. You see that it kind of broke off this little piece of tape over here. But we're going to go ahead. Put that back on. So you want to put it through in the front first, through that hole. So then it goes in. And now at this point, we're going to go ahead and put all the screws back in. Turn this, because I have screws in a certain order. Okay, long screws. Look. Remember to make sure that you're doing the long screws into these 4 holes. And I'm going to turn it. We have the 4 smaller screws, and they go into these 4 holes here. Get these 4 small screws in. Okay, so remember you have the little rubber feet. The caps that are more rubbery go on to the ends. They are a little different than the plastic ones. So they go onto these spots here. So that way that grips the system. And then the plastic caps go over these holes. So you want to be careful. Never force anything. And don't rush it. And we need a hard drive back in. Yes, if you want to. You can put your warranty sticker back on. And then, you know, I like to have all my stickers back on, even though something this stupid, because this thing is hideous at this point after it's been pulled. So that Sony knows you broke into your console. But considering that this didn't work at all, yeah, that sticker's been done. You usually can get away with one time on stickers. And then we got the hard drive. If you don't have the hard drive, there's just a little plastic cover that goes on it instead. And there we go. It is reassembled. Let's make sure. Do one quick power test. And then we'll go. All right, let's go ahead and hook it to the TV. We're gonna turn it on. Ooh, we got green, blue. All right, there. Say yes. Okay. All right, save it in the memory slot 1. In case anyone's interested, this is the tool set that I like to use. I use it for this teardown. It's this Strebito. I guess that's how you would call it. I think it's, I believe I got it on Amazon. I'll try to leave a link to it in the description. But this set comes with 2 different types of screwdrivers. You get the smaller one, which has smaller bits, and then you have a larger one over here. And it includes a bunch of different types of pry bars on here, all plastic, to like help you remove, disconnect stuff, cases and everything, and get the clips and all that. And it even has an attachment for the smaller screwdriver to bend to get into things. And it has lots of bits. So it should cover just about everything you need. It includes even the bits to open up cartridges. If you want to be able to open up old Nintendo or Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis cartridges, that has the bits for that. And it has the anti-static wrist strap to ground yourself so you don't have any discharge when you're working on devices. I probably should have done that for this teardown. But there you go. So I thought I'd show that real quickly. I think this is a really cool set.